Since we're talking about Deathdealer, let's talk about what's going on with Deathdealer, because that's a band we haven't heard from in a while.
Yeah, there's a lot happening with Deathdealer, and I owe a video on our page to people that like that band. Deathdealer, we've been waiting for the label to make an announcement, right? So we signed a great deal with Massacre Records over 12 months ago. And we have delivered a new album to them, fully mixed, mastered,
right.
Especially for vinyl, of course. All the album artwork's done. And I've given you a private preview of that.
You have.
I believe it's an extraordinarily special album. We spent 4 years making it, and I was firm saying we're not releasing this unless it gets the right treatment. I'm not putting this album out because we're not Iron Maiden. We're not an A-list metal band. We can't just release an album and expect it to do well. We need the right support. So Massacre got really behind it. And then in other news, it was due out in November last year. It was due out in March this year. Massacre's gone through a business buyout with their bigger company called Believe. Kind of a boring story, but it's just slowed everything down to a point where I've said, no, I'm not releasing this until the business is sorted. So it could be later this year, we expect. But Deathdealer is very much alive. The album is there. We almost have album 5 in the can as well. So lots happening, but just you put out those silly little statements going, hey, everybody, here's a news update. Nothing's happening at the moment. So that's a little painful for us, but it requires time. I hope you agree.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, since you mentioned I've had a preview of it, I would probably say it's easily the best album you guys have done, and it is probably one of the most incredible albums I've ever heard. And I think you already know what my opinion of is it, because I remind you about it every few months. But I mean, I agree with you because, and I agree with your decision on that, because I really do think this record is that good, where it really needs to have the proper support behind it to get it out there. Because if anybody's listened to the other albums, and let's say they like a lot of the other Deathdealer albums, they don't even know what they're in for when it comes to this. I mean, it's like I can tell you it's amazing. Let's put it that way. And
this album contains, I'm going to put it out there, I think it contains the longest high scream in history recorded in one take.
Yeah.
And that's when you listen to, say, really good example, Halloween. Do I need to even mention Halloween to you? You're very good friends. The end scream, or the end note in I Want Out is one of the longest recorded vocals. What Sean did on a song called The Dragon of Alagarath is the name of the song. Yeah. It is a single take, and he actually goes higher at the end. So, when we were making this, I think he's even posted video footage of it on Facebook.
I think he has. Yeah.
But look, all that stuff aside, I think songwriting wise, it's powerful. Your viewers this, and I'm sure they're sitting going, well, when are we going to get it? So let's talk more about it when it's ready to come out, because I'm immensely proud of it, and but it's got to be handled right, and it needs a tour afterwards as well. We need to be doing shows, and this is part of the reasoning for the delay. But Deathdealer is very much alive, and it's really just about businesses recovering after COVID, right? Like we're back in the swing now.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking of long screams. The only thing I could think that even comes close to that would be the scream Rob Halford does on Blood Red Skies by Judas Priest. I was just thinking about that the other day. If you remember that song off of Ram It Down. Ram It Down is not the most popular album, but
it's my favorite.
Yeah. It's definitely my favorite, one of my favorite Priest songs, but I think about that. So it's interesting. You mentioned recovering after COVID, because I think when this whole thing ended, everybody just went out all at once, and it's just taken, have this whole backlog. I mean, bands are putting out albums this year that really would have had them out like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, just because, but everything was delayed. Touring was delayed. Releases were delayed. And, a lot of these bands have albums that might've come out 2 years ago, but they wrote them like 5-6 years ago, so yeah, I totally understand it from the business angle as well. Hey everybody, Tony here from the Metal Command podcast. Again, I appreciate your support. Since 1998, I have hosted this show in one form or another, starting off in radio and now in the podcast format. Again, thanks for watching, and if you like what you see and hear on this show, by all means, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video, and if you see this program on any other form of social media, please give me a follow there. Again, I always appreciate your support.